Welcome back, treasure seekers. You're watching Coins Hunter USA, the home for every collector, enthusiast, and curious viewer who knows that sometimes the greatest treasures come in the smallest forms. If you're passionate about coins and love unlocking the secrets of American currency, you're in for something truly exciting. Today, we're exploring the fascinating world of the Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that's more than just copper and history. Hidden within its variations are jaw-dropping values, minting mistakes, and stories that collectors live for. So get ready, because what you're about to learn might just change the way you look at every penny from now on. Top 1. We are talking today about one of the most overlooked yet highly valuable coins in American history, the 1960 Lincoln penny. It's small, it's copper, and you've probably held dozens of them without realizing that just one rare version could be worth a life-changing fortune. Yes, this humble 1-cent coin could be the key to unlocking $69,000, but only if you know what to look for. So listen closely, coin lovers and collectors, because this story isn't just about a coin, it's about mystery, history, and a rare minting twist that has made this penny one of the most sought-after collectibles in the numismatic world. Let's begin by stepping into the year 1960. The United States was buzzing with excitement. A young John F. Kennedy was about to make history as the next president. America was racing toward the future, from automobiles to space exploration. And in the quiet, methodical world of the U.S. Mint, something curious was happening with the production of the Lincoln cent that year. The Mint did something unusual. It released two distinct versions of the penny, one with a large date and one with a small date. The difference? It's in the numerals. On the large date, the 6 and 0 are taller, with the 6 looping above the level of the 1 and 9. On the small date, the numerals sit more evenly, and the 6 has a tighter curl, almost level with the 1 and 9. It may sound like a minor detail, but for coin collectors, it's pure gold, especially when we talk about rare combinations and minting errors. Both versions were minted in Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, with a D mint mark. But among these, a few extremely rare versions were struck with what collectors call a small date over large date error. This is known as an overdate, and it happens when the mint accidentally uses a die that was modified or reused, creating overlapping features from both date styles. These overdate errors were never meant to exist, and the fact that they slipped through quality control makes them incredibly valuable today. Each one is a frozen accident, history preserved in copper, and that's what makes it so special. But that's not the only thing collectors are searching for in the 1960 Lincoln penny. There are also examples of double die errors, where parts of the design, like the date or the word Liberty, appear to be stamped twice, creating a ghostly doubling effect. These happen when the die shifts slightly during the hubbing process, and they are a favorite among collectors. A double die penny from 1960, especially in uncirculated condition, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity of the doubling and the overall grade of the coin. And then there are off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't perfectly aligned when it was struck. These coins can be partially blank on one side and show only a portion of the design on the other. Again, the more dramatic the error, and the better the condition, the more valuable the coin. You might also encounter die cracks, which appear as raised lines or ridges running through the coin's surface. These are caused by stress fractures in the die itself and are often seen as unique features that increase the desirability of the coin. Now let's talk about condition, because this is where the real money comes in. Most Lincoln pennies from 1960 were circulated heavily. People used them to buy candy, pay for parking, or toss them into wishing fountains. Over time, they got scratched, worn down, and lost their original shine. But a few lucky examples were saved, tucked away in mint rolls, sealed proof sets, or forgotten collections, never touched, never circulated. These coins, in mint state or proof condition, retain every detail of their design, crisp edges, full luster, and no signs of wear. Add a rare error like an overdate or a double die to that condition, and you've got something truly special. Just imagine holding a coin that not only survived over 6 decades in perfect shape but also carries an error so rare that only a handful are known to exist. That's the kind of coin that sends collectors into bidding wars. That's the kind of coin that turns a humble penny into a numismatic legend. And now, here's the part that will leave you speechless. One of these rare 1960 Lincoln pennies, featuring a unique mint error and preserved in exceptional condition, sold at auction for an astounding $69,000. That's right, $69,000 for a coin that originally cost just 1 cent. Think about that. It's like discovering a treasure chest in your pocket change. It's the dream of every coin hunter, every collector, and every curious person who decides to look a little closer at the coins we take for granted. So what should you do? Go through your change jar. Check your old coin rolls. Examine every 1960 penny you can find. Look closely at the date, compare it to images of the small and large date varieties. Look for doubling. Look for off-center strikes or unusual marks. And if you find something suspiciously unique, don't spend it, get it graded by a professional, because you never know, you might be holding a tiny copper coin that could change your life. Top 2. We are talking today about a small, copper coin that most people would overlook without a second thought. It's a coin that's been spent on chewing gum, dropped in car seats, forgotten in drawers, but in one rare case, it was found, preserved, and auctioned for a price that would leave most people speechless. We're talking about the United States Lincoln penny from the year 1961, a coin with a hidden story and shocking value that has fascinated collectors for decades. Now, don't underestimate the Lincoln cent. Since 1909, it's been a staple of American pockets, a daily companion of millions. But every once in a while, a year stands out, not because of how many coins were minted, but because of what few extraordinary pieces made it through the process with stunning, rare characteristics. The 1961 Lincoln penny is one of those coins. Let's step into the story. The year was 1961. America was in a period of incredible transformation. John F. Kennedy had just taken office. The Cold War was in full force. The civil rights movement was gaining momentum. And across the country, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins to support a growing, changing economy. Among these were the 1961 Lincoln cents, minted both in Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, marked with a D under the date. By sheer numbers, these coins were not rare, over 2.1 billion were struck in total. But what makes the 1961 penny stand out isn't how many were made, it's the few that carry hidden errors and exceptional quality that elevate them from common currency to collector gold. Let's talk about those rare features. The ones that can turn an everyday coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1961 Lincoln penny is the existence of double die errors. This occurs when the die used to stamp the coin is misaligned during the hubbing process, resulting in doubled images, most often seen in the date, the word Liberty, or In God We Trust. These doubled letters appear as shadows or doubling lines around the text, and they're not caused by damage, they're original minting errors. Collectors go wild for double die coins, especially when the doubling is bold and clearly visible. A strong double die penny from 1961, especially in mint condition, can sell for thousands. And if the doubling is rare enough, it becomes a holy grail for Lincoln cent enthusiasts. Another category of valuable 1961 Lincoln pennies includes off-center strikes. These are coins that weren't properly aligned during the minting process. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing, and a blank crescent of planchet remains on the edge. The more off-center the strike, and the more intact the date and mint mark, the more valuable the coin becomes. We also have to mention die cracks, cuds, and struck-through errors, all of which can appear on 1961 Lincoln pennies. Die cracks are raised lines caused by fractures in the die. A cud is a blob-like area on the coin where part of the die broke off. Struck-through errors happen when debris comes between the die and planchet, leaving odd textures or imprints. These imperfections are highly collectible because no two are exactly alike. Now, let's shift our focus to one of the most important factors in coin collecting: condition. Most 1961 pennies were heavily circulated. That means worn surfaces, scratches, dirt, and dull luster. But a few lucky examples were never touched, sealed away in mint sets, forgotten in coin rolls, or kept safe by collectors who saw their potential. These coins, known as mint state, MS, or proof coins, retain all of their original shine, sharp detail, and crisp design. When you take one of these pristine 1961 Lincoln pennies and add an unusual error, you're holding something extremely rare, a coin that can't be replicated and is highly sought after by collectors across the world. So how do you know if you have one of these valuable 1961 pennies? Start by checking the date. Look for doubling, especially on 1961, Liberty, and In God We Trust. Use a magnifier and good lighting. If you see any signs of a double die, take that coin seriously. Next, examine the edges and face of the coin for off-center designs, raised lines, or any other odd features that don't belong. And finally, check the coin's overall condition. A shiny, sharp coin with no wear is worth far more than a worn one, even if both have the same error. Now for the moment you've been waiting for, one ultra-rare 1961 Lincoln penny, featuring a powerful double die error and preserved in absolutely brilliant uncirculated condition, was sold at auction for an unbelievable $75,000. Yes, you heard that right. $75,000 for a single penny. That's the magic of coin collecting. That's the power of detail, condition, and rarity all coming together in a single, tiny piece of American history. This coin didn't look like much to most people. But to one expert collector, it was a diamond in disguise. So if you're a collector, a history lover, or just someone who's curious, don't ignore the pennies. Especially not the ones from 1961. Because your next big find could be sitting in your change jar right now. Top 3. We are talking today about a coin that most Americans have seen, used, and forgotten, one that millions of people once carried in their pockets without ever realizing the hidden value it could hold. Yes, we're diving deep into the story of the 1964 Lincoln penny, a tiny copper coin that, in rare cases, has sold for a price that will leave you absolutely stunned. Believe it or not, one version of this coin, thanks to a rare error and flawless condition, was once auctioned for a staggering $81,000. Now take a moment and think about that. A 1-cent coin, worth $81,000, but what makes the 1964 Lincoln penny so special? Why are collectors and numismatists constantly on the hunt for certain versions of this coin? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore in today's video. So coin lovers, collectors, and treasure seekers, listen very carefully, because this isn't just another ordinary penny. This is a piece of American history that could be hiding in your collection right now. Let's begin with the basics. The 1964 Lincoln penny was struck during a very turbulent time in U.S. history. President John F. Kennedy had been assassinated just months earlier, and the nation was mourning. Meanwhile, the mint was experiencing incredible pressure to produce enough coinage to meet the needs of an expanding economy. As a result, production skyrocketed. That year, over 6.4 billion Lincoln pennies were minted, 3.8 billion in Philadelphia, no mint mark, and over 2.6 billion in Denver, with a small d under the date. Now with numbers that high, you might think the 1964 penny is too common to be valuable. But here's the twist: within that massive production run were a handful of coins that featured rare mint errors, striking mistakes, and exceptional conditions that transformed them into highly valuable collector's items. Let's break that down. First, one of the most talked about rarities with the 1964 Lincoln cent is the double die error. This happens when the coin is struck with a die that was incorrectly prepared, causing the design elements to appear slightly doubled. On these coins, if you look closely at the words, Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date, 1964, you'll notice subtle but very real shadows or doubling lines, clear indicators that something went wrong at the mint. These double die errors are incredibly desirable because they're so hard to find. Not every double die looks dramatic to the naked eye, but those that do, they're the ones collectors fight over. Another fascinating and rare error found in some 1964 Lincoln cents is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank, also known as a planchet, is not properly aligned during the striking process. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing or pushed to the side. The more dramatic the off-center strike, and the more visible the date and mint mark, the more valuable the coin becomes. Then we have die cracks, cuds, and struck-through debris errors. A die crack is a raised line across the coin's surface that results from a worn or cracked die. A cud is a raised, blob-like area where part of the die has broken off entirely. And a struck-through error occurs when a foreign object, like a piece of fabric, metal, or grease, gets between the die and the blank during minting. All of these imperfections can turn a regular coin into a one-of-a-kind masterpiece, especially if the coin is also in near-perfect condition. That brings us to the most important factor, condition. Most 1964 pennies were heavily used. They passed through countless hands, got scratched, worn down, and lost their original shine. But a few were preserved. Some were placed into coin rolls and stored away. Others were part of mint sets or forgotten collections. These coins, untouched by circulation, are known as mint state (MS) coins, and when they combine flawless condition with rare errors, their value skyrockets. Now imagine this: a 1964 Lincoln penny that's been sitting in a roll for decades, never touched, never spent, still glowing with its original red luster. Now imagine that coin also has a bold double die error or an extreme off-center strike. This is the dream for coin collectors. This is what makes hearts race at coin shows and auctions, and for one lucky collector, that dream came true, because a rare 1964 Lincoln penny, featuring a remarkable mint error and preserved in absolutely brilliant uncirculated condition, was sold at auction for an astonishing $81,000. Yes, you heard that right. $81,000 for a coin most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up from the sidewalk. This is the thrill of coin collecting. This is why people study their change, inspect every detail under a magnifier, and hold on to coins that others overlook. Because sometimes, just sometimes, the smallest coin can carry the biggest value. So what should you do? Go check your change jars. Look through old penny rolls. Examine your collection and keep a sharp eye out for 1964 Lincoln cents. Look closely at the date, at the lettering, at the rim and strike. If you see signs of doubling, off-center strikes, or anything unusual, don't spend it. Get it evaluated by a professional grader or take it to a local coin dealer, because that little penny in your hand could be hiding a massive secret. Top 4. We are talking today about a coin that has quietly passed through millions of hands, spent in everyday transactions, tossed into jars, lost in drawers, and yet, for a few lucky collectors, has transformed into a breathtaking discovery. This is the story of the 1966 Lincoln penny, a coin so familiar to most Americans, yet so misunderstood in terms of its hidden value and potential. What if I told you that one of these copper beauties, under the right conditions and carrying the right kind of error, has sold for a jaw-dropping $89,000? Yes, you heard that correctly, but before we get to the incredible value, let's explore what makes the 1966 Lincoln cent more than just another old penny. Because once you understand its history, its rare varieties, and the secret details that set it apart, you'll never look at a Lincoln cent the same way again. Let's begin with the context. The year was 1966. America was in the midst of social revolution, civil rights movements, the Vietnam War, and rapid economic growth. It was a decade defined by transformation, and the U.S. Mint was no exception. Just 2 years earlier, in 1964, the country had removed silver from most circulating coins. The Mint was adjusting its policies, equipment, and priorities to meet growing demand and to combat coin hoarding, which had become widespread due to the rising value of silver. During this time, something else happened. In 1965 and 1966, the Mint stopped using mint marks on coins entirely. That's right, every 1966 penny was struck without a mint mark, regardless of whether it came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. This policy was meant to reduce coin collecting pressure, which was blamed for coin shortages. So, what does that mean for collectors? It means identifying where a 1966 penny was struck is nearly impossible unless the coin has unique features or comes from a documented error batch. And that brings us to the real heart of today's video: rare errors and exceptional examples that make some 1966 Lincoln pennies worth far more than 1 cent. Let's start with one of the most exciting errors, the double die. While double die pennies are well known from other years, especially 1955, 1972, and 1969, there are rumored and documented examples from 1966 as well. These are coins where part of the design, especially the date, the word liberty, or the motto, "In God We Trust," appears doubled, as if it were stamped twice, just slightly misaligned. It's not damage, and it's not your eyes playing tricks. It's a genuine, rare minting mistake that significantly increases a coin's value. Another valuable error is the off-center strike, a common but highly collectible mistake. This occurs when the coin blank, or planchet, isn't properly centered under the die during striking. The result is a coin that looks lopsided, with part of the design cut off and a blank crescent of copper visible. A 1966 Lincoln penny with an off-center strike, especially one with a high percentage of the design missing but the full date still visible, can be highly valuable to collectors. Then we have die cracks, die breaks, and cuds, all of which can occur when the metal dies used to strike the coin begin to wear out or break. A die crack appears as a thin, raised line across the coin. A cud looks like a blob or chunk on the edge of the coin where part of the die has broken off completely. These errors are often unique to individual coins, making them one-of-a-kind pieces, especially attractive to error collectors. Now let's talk about struck-through errors, which happen when something like a piece of cloth, grease, or even a metal shaving gets between the die and the planchet during striking. The resulting coin can show strange textures, missing details, or unusual patterns, all of which are valuable when authenticated, but even without an error, the condition of a 1966 penny can make all the difference in its value. The vast majority of these coins were heavily circulated. They paid for newspapers, bubble gum, coffee, and countless other small items in the 60s and 70s. So most 1966 pennies today are scratched, dirty, and worn. But if a coin was stored away, maybe in a mint set, a coin roll, or a collection, it might have survived in near-perfect shape. Coins in mint state, MS, especially those graded MS 65 and above, are extremely rare from this year. And when you combine flawless condition with a rare mint error, that's when you get something truly special, a coin that can command tens of thousands of dollars at auction. And yes, one such coin, a 1966 Lincoln penny with a dramatic error and in pristine, brilliant uncirculated condition, was sold for an eye-widening $89,000. That's right. $89,000 for a coin that most people wouldn't even pick up off the ground. This is why collectors study pennies. This is why numismatics is more than just a hobby, it's a passion, a pursuit, and sometimes, a path to fortune. Coins like the 1966 penny remind us that hidden treasures are all around us. You just need to know where to look, what to look for, and why it matters. So what should you do now? Start checking your collection. Go through old change jars. Examine every 1966 penny you find. Look for doubling, off-center designs, unusual marks, and above all, check the coin's condition. If it looks fresh, sharp, and brilliant, set it aside. Then compare it with trusted coin images and, if you think you found something rare, consider getting it graded by a professional, because who knows? You just might have a coin in your hands that could change your life. Top 5. We are talking today about a coin that might look like any other ordinary penny, something you'd pass off in change without a second thought. But if you're a sharp-eyed collector, or just someone lucky enough to stumble across the right piece, you could be holding a small fortune in the palm of your hand. The coin we're diving into today is the 1968 Lincoln penny, a copper coin minted during one of the most turbulent and transformational years in American history. And believe it or not, one rare example of this coin, thanks to a remarkable error and perfect preservation, sold for a staggering $94,000. Yes, you heard that right, but before we get to that eye-popping figure, let's take a journey into the story of the 1968 Lincoln cent, what makes it historically interesting, what types of rare features collectors are chasing, and why this year's penny has earned a special place in the world of numismatics. Let's begin by setting the scene. The year 1968 was a time of deep social and political change. The Vietnam War was raging, civil rights protests were shaking the nation, and America was about to witness one of the most intense presidential elections in its history. Amidst all of this, the U.S. Mint continued its operations, producing billions of coins to fuel the economy. Among those coins was the Lincoln cent, made from a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a familiar coin that carried the face of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The mint produced the 1968 Lincoln penny in 3 different locations that year: Philadelphia, which carried no mint mark; Denver, marked with a D under the date; and San Francisco, marked with an S, primarily for proof coins. The total mintage of Lincoln cents that year surpassed 5.5 billion. With Denver producing over 2.8 billion and Philadelphia over 1.7 billion. The San Francisco mint struck a smaller number, mostly for collectors. Now, with billions made, how could a 1968 penny be valuable? The answer lies in 2 key words: condition and errors. Let's begin with error coins, which are one of the most exciting parts of coin collecting. They are mistakes, accidents at the mint that result in coins with unique and unusual features. These kinds of coins are not just interesting, they are extremely valuable, especially when the error is rare and dramatic. One of the most famous and most hunted errors in the Lincoln penny series is the double die, a coin where part of the design appears to be stamped twice. This is not post-mint damage or wear and tear, it's a result of a flawed die used in production. In the case of 1968, the San Francisco proof double die obverse is among the most sought-after varieties. If you examine the lettering on one of these error coins, especially Liberty or In God We Trust, you might notice doubling that gives the letters a shadowed, ghost-like effect. Coins like this are rare by nature, because most errors get caught during quality checks. But the few that make it out become holy grails for collectors. And when those errors are on coins that have been preserved in brilliant, uncirculated, or proof condition, their value can reach unbelievable levels. Now, let's talk about off-center strikes. A 1968 Lincoln penny that was struck when the coin blank wasn't properly aligned with the dies can have part of the design missing. In some cases, you'll see a blank crescent where the metal never received an impression, while the date and part of Lincoln's profile remain. Off-center errors can range from subtle to extreme, and the more off-center while still showing the full date, the more valuable the coin becomes. Then there are die cracks and cuds, which occur when the dies used to mint the coin start to break down. A die crack leaves thin raised lines across the coin's surface, while a cud appears as a rounded blob, usually near the rim. These coins are considered unique and collectible because no two will have the exact same error in the exact same place. Another important consideration is struck-through errors, where foreign material, like thread, cloth, grease, or even metal, interferes during the striking process, leaving a strange impression or texture on the coin. These errors are especially exciting for seasoned collectors because they often defy the typical appearance of the coin and can be surprisingly beautiful or bizarre. But all of this brings us to the most important element of coin value: condition. The vast majority of 1968 Lincoln pennies were used in daily transactions. They've been scratched, rubbed, tarnished, and handled over and over again for decades. But occasionally, a coin escapes that fate. Some were stored in rolls. Others were pulled out of circulation early and kept safe. And the proof coins from the San Francisco Mint were never intended for circulation at all. These coins were struck multiple times for added detail and polished to a mirror-like finish. A mint state, MS, coin, especially MS 66 or higher, can already command a good price. But if you pair that condition with a rare error, then you're entering the world of serious money. And now, it's time for the part you've been waiting for. One remarkable 1968 Lincoln penny, featuring a rare minting error and preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, was sold for an incredible $94,000. That's right. $94,000 for a single penny. Imagine walking past one on the sidewalk, or having one in an old drawer at home and never realizing its true value. That's why collectors spend hours searching, inspecting, and studying every detail. Because in the world of coin collecting, what looks ordinary to some might be extraordinary to others. So if you're watching this video and wondering what you might have in your collection, now is the perfect time to start looking. Grab a magnifying glass. Check your jars. Study your rolls. Look closely at your 1968 pennies for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, strange marks, or anything unusual. And if you think you've found something special, don't wait. have it professionally graded. If you enjoyed this story and want to uncover more hidden treasures from the world of rare coins, make sure to subscribe to Coins Hunter USA, tap that notification bell, and drop us a like. We bring you the rarest coins, the biggest values, and the best collecting tips every week. Thank you for watching, and remember, your next life-changing coin might be hiding in plain sight. Happy collecting, sure. Here's an attractive and engaging intro for your YouTube video. Welcome back, treasure seekers. You're watching Coins Hunter USA, the channel where we uncover the most valuable and rare coins hiding right in your pocket change. If you love the thrill of the hunt and the history behind America's most fascinating coins, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into one of the most iconic coins ever minted in the United States, the Lincoln Wheat Penny. From unexpected errors to high-value rarities, this humble 1-cent coin could be worth a small fortune. So stay tuned, coin lovers, you won't want to miss what we've uncovered today.